We're going to transition now to a very special ceremony, our unveiling, in honor of Dr. Edmund Gordon, whose contributions to TC and our field are unparalleled. I'll ask President Bailey to come up.
As president of Teachers College, I have the happy task of presiding over many wonderful events every year. I welcome new students during orientation. I honor our alumni during our academic festival, and I help to send our graduates on to the next stages of their careers. But today, we all get to witness and celebrate an altogether different kind of occasion, one that happens as infrequently as the appearance of a great comet. I refer, of course, to the unveiling of a portrait of an eminent scholar whose life and life's work elicit our admiration, our respect, our gratitude, and our awe. But a portrait unveiling is more than that. In academia, it is a consecration, a formal, permanent affirmation that the beliefs, ideas, methods, and monumental accomplishments of a single person are fundamental to an institution's highest ideals of what it aspires to be. Individuals who contribute and define at this level come along perhaps once or twice in a generation, and their impact and influence only grow with the passage of time. Yet even among this very select circle, our honoree today stands apart. Where others' lives and careers have followed a predictable arc of promise, productivity, peak performance, and gradual decline, a graph of Edmund Gordon's contributions would consist of a single, continuously rising line. Quite simply, the normal rules of time seem not to apply to Ed. Consider, first of all, that this is a man who was mentored by the sociologist and Pan-Africanist W.E.B. Du Bois, himself born in 1868. Du Bois argued that schooling for black students as well as whites must cultivate, quote, intelligence, broad sympathy, and knowledge of the world, such that no human being would ever mistake the means of living for the objects of life. Those same beliefs have animated Ed's vision for what he calls supplementary education, the scaffolding of experience to provide disadvantaged young people of color with exposure to museums, theater, zoos, and all of the other extracurricular learning and enrichment that their wealthier white peers absorb as a matter of course. As a minister, a government official, a psychologist, a professor, and dean, Ed has worked brilliantly and effectively to make his vision a reality. Picture Ed's impact through the years. In the 1950s, working with his wife, the physician Susan Gordon, to create a comprehensive medical and mental health clinic to serve families in Harlem. The first institution of its kind, it served as a model for subsequent efforts such as Northside, founded by Kenneth and Mamie Clark, and the Harlem Children's Zone. Find him making history and headway in the 1960s, serving as research director for the federal Head Start program under President Lyndon Johnson, helping to write the first Elementary and Secondary School Education Act, and serving on the committee that crafted the Coleman Report, which first called national attention to poverty as a barrier to academic achievement. Picture him again joining our faculty in 1968, and as he enjoys recalling, wearing a dashiki to his first faculty meeting to send a clear message about who he was and what he was about. See Ed in the 1970s taking TC's intellectual firepower into the streets by founding the Institute for Urban and Minority Education, whose mission was and still is to use research and advocacy to improve lives and life prospects for urban communities of color. Picture Ed in the 2000s, serving as TC's interim dean and academic vice president in 2001, and getting profiled in the New York Times, where he was asked to reflect on what he'd like to accomplish during I guess what the time thought were his few remaining years. That was 2003. Not only have those few remaining years turned into 16 years and counting, they also have been productive and consequential. 10 years later, in 2013, Ed led the Gordon Commission of the Education Testing Service, which went on to recommend sweeping changes in educational assessment in order to support teaching, learning, and human development. It's a remarkable record of achievement, and in so many ways, Ed's vision and work have increasingly served as a roadmap for Teachers College over the years. Major hubs at TC, such as the Community College Research Center, the National Center for Children and Families, the Center for Educational Equity, have built on his foundational premise. His argument that while education is essential to social advancement, it must be supported by efforts to strengthen families and communities and create pathways to productive working lives. Earlier, I referred to Ed Gordon's mentoring tree that is populated with thousands of accomplished educators, scholars, scholar activists, policymakers, and leaders. Our next speaker, sociology and education professor Amy Stewart Wells, is all of those things. She's nationally recognized authority on the intersection of racial inequality and educational policies aimed at serving the rapidly changing public of public education. She has conducted large-scale projects on school desegregation, charter schools, tracking, and most recently, the relationship between the changing demographics of suburban and urban communities and their public school enrollments, opportunities, and reputations. At Teachers College, Amy directs the Public Good, a public school support organization that uses research to help sustain equitable and socially just integrated K-12 schools. She also has been the president of the American Education Research Association and, of course, the driving force behind the Reimagining Education Summer Institute. Please join me in welcoming Amy Stewart Wells.
Thank you, President Bailey, and thank you, Erica Walker, for inviting me to contribute some remarks on this joyous occasion of the unveiling of a portrait of one of the most iconic members of the TC faculty, Dr. Edmund G. Gordon. When Erica asked me to make these remarks from a TC faculty member's perspective, I immediately thought of the word scholar to best describe Dr. Gordon and his role at Teachers College, because I cannot think of anyone I know who better embodies the meaning of that term. And so I did what we often do these days. I Googled the word scholar to see what I would find. But when I saw how Merriam-Webster and Cambridge dictionaries define scholar, I thought they were completely inadequate to describe Dr. G. So I used what I know of Dr. Gordon and his form of powerful intellectual leadership in our field and at this institution to write my own definition as a tribute to him. And this is what I came up with. A scholar is someone who has a deep and penetrating insight into everyday problems and issues that require more systematic, interdisciplinary explanations and synthesis. A scholar is someone who brings researchers and practitioners together across fields and disciplines to engage in consultative conversations about new ideas and directions for scholarship and practice. A scholar is someone who can somehow manage to get one of the largest testing companies in the world to fund a commission of prominent researchers to critique standardized testing as the central form of assessment and accountability in our educational system. A scholar is someone who mentors and supports and applauds the work of those who come after him, but only if he thinks we are performing to our highest potential. A scholar is someone who steps in to assist with university administration when duty calls, but remembers that his real work is about generating knowledge and leveraging faculty expertise to do good in this world. A scholar is someone who teaches his colleagues about work-life balance, the responsibility of parenting, the importance of family, one who sends Happy Mother's Day text messages that make this colleague smile. A scholar is Edmund W. Gordon. And none of us would be here today doing the critical work of UME and reimagining education that together leverage the research and expertise of the TC faculty to impact practice had we not been taught how and why we do this by him. And as much as I adore and admire so many of my TC colleagues, there is not one of them I would rather walk by every morning and every night and smile and see him smiling at me from a portrait on the wall. To me, Dr. Gordon taught us to be what Gandhi says, thoughtful, gentle, and fearless in the pursuit of academic excellence for all of our students at Teachers College and in the research that we conduct. Thank you, Dr. Gordon, for being such an important part of this institution and the lives of so many faculty here, especially mine. And now it is my pleasure to introduce Dr. Eleanor Armour Thomas, a TC alum who is a student of Dr. Gordon's. She now holds a joint appointment as Professor of Education Psychology at Queens College and the Graduate School and University Center of the City University of New York. Since 1999, she has received she served as the chairperson of the Department of Secondary Education and Youth Services at Queens College, and she is the principal investigator of a graduate program for science education. Welcome.
Erica, thank you very much for inviting me. And I really wondered why you did when there are so many, many mentees of Dr. Gordon all over the world, all over the United States as well, and the Caribbean from where I come. It's a wonderful day, as I said. And so I would be brief. In fact, you gave me 2 minutes. Now, you'd wonder, how much could I really say in 2 minutes? So I decide I would really say a huge thank you, vote of gratitude that I feel humbled by being so close to Dr. Gordon. My first encounter with him really began 40 years ago in the hallway of Main Hall. It was then called, it's now called Zankel Hall. When, as a student accepted into the guidance and counseling department of a master's degree, to pursue a master's degree, I was so befuddled. I was so anxious about what awaited me here. And as I must have been the look on my face when there comes Dr. Gordon with his beard and his dashiki, and he said, "Young lady." Of course, I was very honored to be called young lady. "May I help you?" And I said, "Yes." And I shared with him my concerns about where's the registrar, where's the bursar. When I did see that bill, I almost passed out in those days. And he calmed me down, and little did I know, a few days later, I would walk into the classroom, and there he was, my professor. He didn't say anything then. I didn't know he was Dr. Gordon. He was the chairperson of the department, and I felt so honored to later then be what I would call his mentee. And 40 years later, here we are again in Teachers College. Here you are, Professor, my mentor, my friend, my colleague. I owe you such a debt of gratitude for all you have done for me as a research assistant for you many years ago, then as a student, go through my career here at Teachers College, as a professor, chairperson. You wouldn't believe, mentoring does not end as a student level. Even at this late stage in my life, I still look to Dr. Gordon for mentoring. In fact, we have a date on Friday. And just as you did many, many years ago, when you asked, "Can I help you?" You'll ask me the same question again, and for which I will say, "Yes, Professor, help me." So thank you very much. When I think of mentoring, what are some of the qualities that come to mind? Oh, there are so many. Amy mentioned some different aspects of scholarship or scholar. Similarly, a mentor is one who helps, but along with that generosity of help comes a compassion, comes a non-judgmental attitude, comes wisdom, comes vision, comes, in fact, I think the word agentic when I think of you, Professor, And that agentic attitude has also influenced me as a mentee with you. So thank you very much. Oh, I think my time is up. Yes. So I turn to one of his mentees also, Dr. Erica Walker, who will in turn then now do the best part of the day. Thank you. Wonderful, wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you.
Damn good picture.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Very
Would you like to say a few words?
thank you. All right. I first came to Teachers College in the summer of 1950. The place has always treated me decently. So my colleagues, thank you very much for treating me so decently. One of the things that you didn't say a lot about me today was my career as a Presbyterian preacher. And those of you who know anything about Protestant preachers, we never pass up the opportunity to make a speech. Another part of my background, I'm sorry, is that of a child psychotherapist. I practiced psychotherapy with children for about 10 years. I was trained by two marvelous women. One was Margaret Lawrence. Margaret Lawrence was a black woman who was denied admission to Columbia's medical school in the early part of the 20th century because the last Negro they had admitted developed tuberculosis. And in their great wisdom, they thought that the way you prevent more tuberculosis was not to admit Negroes or something. Anyway, Margaret finished medical school and became, I think, one of the first or second women who were licensed as a psychiatrist in New York State. I was talking about two women psychiatrists who helped me, and Stella Chess was the second one. Stella claimed that her greatness as a psychiatrist came from knowing how to choose good patients. Now, the relevance of that to tonight, I've learned over my many, many years in the academy that you don't try to make a serious talk after Professor Billings. I hope you were listening to the things that she was saying. Gloria, you and I differ on some things. One of them, you and my son attach much greater importance to race than I do. One of the things I learned from Du Bois was his concern toward the end of his life that as important as the color line is, he thought that the problem for the 21st century was going to be the line between those who have and those who have not. Now, the two are not unrelated, he would have hastened to talk about. Colored people are treated badly, primarily because it supports a dysfunctional and immoral, sinful system of economic relations. Du Bois thought that capitalism and the legalized right to exploit other people was the reason that black people were at the bottom and were kept there no matter how hard we tried. So I won't make a talk and elaborate on that following Gloria. I will simply underscore what she has said. And thank you again for coming to an institution that I've grown to love. It has done marvelous things for me. Thank you.